Okay, I know it's been a while since I've uploaded any videos. You might be wondering where I've been. Well, I've just been really lazy and haven't really tried dedicating a lot to this channel, but I've decided to give it another shot, so here we are, I guess. And today we have a special video to talk about silly little Goober who's made an appearance on this channel multiple times before, and to celebrate me finally coming back with a gasoline. But if you somehow clicked on this video and have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll just give you guys a quick recap. Murder Drones is basically this indie animated series made by this guy named Liam, and produced by this production company named Glitch Productions. And it's honestly an amazing show. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already seen it before. There are spoilers ahead, so you should probably first watch the show before going back to this, but that's about it. And Murder Jones has an amazing cast of characters, emotions, and story, and all that make a show great. But the characters are the main thing that make the show interesting for me, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite, but probably also saddest character in the series, Serial Designation N. Ever since I started watching Murder Drones, N has always been my favorite character, and it's a bit difficult to explain why, but I feel like the main reason is that it just feels the most genuine and kind out of all the characters there. And I know that sounds a bit generic, and it is. There are a lot of characters in shows that are just meant to act as comical reliefs, while the other characters do serious stuff. But if you look at all the other episodes, you can start to see why I'm saying this. Like, N's always just being the most wholesome and caring character out there, and it honestly just makes his situation even sadder. The thing about N is that he almost never does anything for himself. Throughout the entire series, he's always trying to do things for his friends or something which he believes will help or save other people as well, and always tries to consider what others might feel when he does something in a situation. I don't think I have ever seen him do something just for himself or try to get others to do something that would benefit himself only. It's honestly depressing when you look at what N has done for others and what others have done for N. N has literally done nothing wrong except try and help people when Uzi made him realize, hey, maybe murder is bad. Yet time after time, he just gets dirt thrown in his face. The amount of times N has been done dirty isn't even funny anymore. First off, let's talk about this character for a minute, alright? To this day, I still don't understand the sheer hatred Jay has toward N. What are you hating on him for? Serving drinks? What kind of logic is that? Are you going to beat the crap out of a fast food worker for doing their job? Well, considering how you act, you actually do seem like the type of person to do so. And I'm not trying to be an N stan here, alright? I understand he isn't perfect, and there are times where I think he should be acting a bit more serious. But that isn't enough justification to tell him to kill himself. Jeez, my man just wants to pet dogs and make friends, but you're acting like he burned down an orphanage 5 miles back. I also find it very ironic that she calls N weak and useless, and also claims she was cloned because she's an effective drone. Jay, you lost to an emo teenager with a pen and a railgun whose fighting experience comes from watching pirated anime. And let me just do a quick look, and oh wow Jay, you somehow have zero confirmed kills throughout the entire show in a series called Murder Drones, I remind you. And yet, N is somehow weaker than you, okay. Another issue I noticed while watching the series is that some characters just don't think all the way through when they're doing something, or aren't exactly the most considerate when making certain choices. A good example is V, and I'm not trying to hate her, right? I like V as well, but there are some choices she made in some episodes that do make me raise my eyebrows a little. For example, in the prompting, N and V get into an argument over whether or not they should pull in America and drone strike everyone in order to get some oil, and at the end, V ends up decapitating N as a result. I can kind of see where she was coming from, but at the same time, it's also a bit dumb. This isn't gonna make N trust you anymore, and you aren't the actual United States. You don't need to murder everyone at the problem. You can just break in and kill like 1 or 2 random people instead. I think this is also pretty evident in episode 4, as when Uzi's absolute solver activates, V and N again get into an argument over whether or not they should kill, because oh no, AI is scary. And even though I can also kind of understand where she was coming from with this as well, I also think it comes off as kind of inconsiderate. Yes, the absolute solver is a very dangerous program. I can understand why V wouldn't want that thing around, but at the same time, she isn't really trying to consider why N might be hesitant to kill one of the few people that actually care about him first off. And it probably isn't a smart idea to refer to Uzi as a thing, because it makes it seem like you're not caring about what someone else feels, and you're just trying to get someone to do something you want, not something you can both agree on. It's understandable why N's mad, because V isn't telling him the truth of what's going on, and isn't trying to consider that Uzi's just a kid with problems like they are, and murdering her isn't the solution they should be going for. Now I know you guys might be thinking, why am I making such a big deal over a silly little goofball with a pilot hat and who likes dogs? I know I've been repeating this whole point for many times over, and I apologize for that, alright? I'm pretty bad with wording for these videos, but truly I feel like throughout the entire series, in a show where everyone's experiences are all very traumatic, that ends is truly the saddest. Before all the lore happened with the absolute sovereign sin, N lived in a place where he and other robots were treated like actual garbage if they did anything wrong. I understand that regular people will probably never see robots as having the same value of life as another person, but at the same time, the way Tessa's parents just casually murder, hey, that's part of the show's name, and disregard robots with no regret behind it whatsoever is pretty malicious. Like, let's just set aside the cringy emotions for a second. Alright, even if every single one of these drones somehow had the personality and the design of a Roomba, you would have to be insane to give up free service like that over something so small. Like, no normal person would ever go and start beating the life out of their Roomba because of a single centimeter of dust on the floor. Unless you're British, of course. Ah ha ha. I'm so funny, guys. I actually don't mean what I just said, though, right? Rich, entitled British people are actually very nice and humble, and totally don't waste money on stuff that would give my relatives a heart attack. Please don't stop me with that. Now, even though N's situation before the main storyline obviously wasn't the best, he at least still had people he could call family and a place he could call home. But then he lost everything, and I just want you guys to imagine what it would feel like in order to remember the fact that you had a good life, you had good people, and then you lost it all. What's even sadder is that N saw the one who took everything away from him wasn't something or someone he hated, but Sin, one of the few people that he actually cared for, and cared for him back as well. Just think about what it might feel like not just to lose everything that you cared about, but also have it taken away by one of the few people that care for you. I think people don't realize that N's situation in episode 1 is actually a bit of a reflection on his previous life, but even sadder, because not only does V not really know him and Jay still treats him like absolute garbage, but now he has no one left there to give him any support or actually care about him. It's almost exactly like his previous life, but without any of the positives. I know this next part might sound kind of dumb, but I think the reason N was killing before isn't really because he takes any pleasure in it or actually enjoys eating the worker drones. I think it's more like he just wants validation from either V or J. The fact is that up until he met Uzi, the only people he had were V or J, who saw him as weak or didn't really know him, so he probably thought that if he murdered a couple worker drones, they might finally stop seeing him that way and actually show him some respect. We also see later on in the episode that even though N is designed for killing, he's only breaking in because he wants to save V, because she's one of the only people he has left, and he probably doesn't want to lose what he's been given. I think what's even more misunderstood about N is his relationship with Uzi. I know not all, but at least some people think that N is kind of a simp, which is why he ended up switching sides so quickly, but I don't think people quite understand the full impact Uzi had on N. The thing is, Uzi is one of the first and only people to actually care for N and stick with him even throughout some of the most difficult problems I've seen. What makes Uzi different is that she just treats him like she would with any other person, instead of completely ignoring him or treating him like garbage. And after I finished the entire show, all the moments that I thought were kind of cringy between N and Uzi actually make a lot more sense to me now. Uzi was able to make N realize that there are people who actually care about him and like him the way he is, and still a little goofball willing to do things to help others, and make him realize he doesn't have to be a murderer in order to earn validation from people who don't really care about him that much. We can actually pretty easily see the difference between the impact the other murder drones had on N and the difference that Uzi was able to make. When Jay ends up betraying N and almost killing him, he barely gives any reaction. It's almost as if he's given up and is like, well, guess I'll die now. Now let's skip to near the end of episode 2, where Uzi and N end up having a falling out. He's clearly a lot more depressed and hurt, and I think it shows that even though N might look oblivious to how people look at him, he actually does know when people care about him, and does have more emotion in return to those type of people like Uzi. I think I can also understand the scene in episode 4 a bit better now. You guys remember, right? The one where N and Uzi have a therapy session 20,000 feet above sea level. I thought before that scene was a bit cringe and that things were being a bit over dramatic, but I can understand it better now considering that Uzi was afraid of losing people who care about her, and the reason N is there for her is because he knows how that feels. He's experienced firsthand how it feels to lose everything that matters to you, and it's also a lot more wholesome when I look back on it. If I have to be honest though, I'm very glad that N didn't go completely insane near the end of the season because the very last few episodes were brutal. When I first started watching Murder Drones, I thought the prompting was pretty brutal. Like, oh no, N just lost an arm and a leg. Like, screw that, he's literally getting dissected by a baby right here. I understand that these are the last few episodes, and Liam didn't really have any plans for a second season, so he would obviously need to ramp things up in order to make things go out with a bang. But seriously, this is a bit extreme. I don't think I didn't see at least one scene in the last few episodes where someone wasn't getting brutally attacked in the most bizarre way possible, and if everyone else was getting slightly seasoned and ready for the chopping board, and was getting full on cooked, flamed, and grilled. Just look at these. I already mentioned him getting dissected by a baby, but geez, it seems whenever him and Sin are on the same screen, N was just getting bodied. You might think the physical pain of getting repeatedly dismembered and almost dying would be the most painful part for N, but no, it's actually an even greater pain, emotionally. Apart from the many difficult situations N had where he had to choose between Uzi and the potential destruction of the world or getting bodied by Sin, N just couldn't seem to catch a break when losing people he cared about. Just imagine how distraught he must have felt when he thought he lost V and Uzi was basically the only one he had left, and then he almost lost her as well. That could have broken him if N wasn't the literal embodiment of dopamine and managed to save the day instead, but who knows what could have happened if his mental state was a bit worse. And finally, after this long video, I know you guys might be asking for my final thoughts on Mary Jones' ending and what other thoughts I might have for the little goofball here. Overall, I do feel like ending the show with just 8 episodes was maybe a bit of a bad call. I'm not saying that 8 episode seasons are bad necessarily, but for the most part, they aren't always able to answer everything fans might have left for a show, but I'm honestly okay with that. Shows don't always have to be perfect, especially an indie show like Mary Jones, and I'm honestly not complaining because Liam did an amazing job in being able to end the series. I didn't think he could do it, but here we are. And I know some people are going to disagree with me on this take, but I'm glad the show ended where it did. N has been through so much, and I'm finally glad that he's still able to be the silly little goober we saw him as from the start. And unlike last time, he truly got that ending he deserved. The people who care about him most are still alive, and he's able to live a peaceful life with good people and good times. We all knew he deserved better, and he finally got it. Thank you, Liam, for giving us a wonderful show for the past 3 years, and the rest of the Glitch Productions team, and a tiny little thank you to this goober for being the most wholesome highlight of the show. And until then, I'm out.